stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain.
Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name's SKYMAN Universe, and your Star Wars quote for today.
Luke, when gone I am, the last of the Jedi you will be.
It is good to be back with some fresh Star Wars content. I feel like it's been forever since we last got something Star Wars, really. I had no idea how close AHSOKA was. I don't know what I've been doing, really, to completely forget about it. But it's sort of, I thought it was at Christmas time it was coming out. It's just where you think it's such a long period of time, you think, well, it's on the back of your mind. But it's next month. So obviously I'm exceptionally hyped. I've read a lot about it. And Dave Filoni saying is basically Star Wars Rebels next season. What was it? Season 3, 4, 5? I think it's 5. Which is just awesome if that's the case. But there's always going to be these slight reservations. How they go about doing TV shows. You know, I'm a massive advocate for Star Wars being on the big screen in movies. I know that heading back to that, but I mean, how many times have we heard what's coming out and never comes into fruition? I wouldn't say the state of the whole Disney Lucasfilm sounds like it's in a good place right now, and I'm kind of banking that this is going to be a sort of void of all of whatever's going on there, and this is just going to be sort of a nice project that's been worked on. Sure, it's going to have, you know, probably modern day things in there, but I still think it has the potential to be an amazing show, and I really hope it is as well. We will get to the reaction shortly in a minute. My thoughts with these previous shows. If I've rewatched it, that means it's good. The Mandalorian, Season 1, I rewatched multiple times. Season 2, I've rewatched multiple times. Book of Boba Fett, I watched it a couple of times, like a couple of episodes in there. I think it was the Mandalorian episode, that was for one, and then the beginning of like the Tusken Raiders with Boba Fett, just because I needed to see some epic moments, but I didn't continue it because it sort of deteriorated as we went through. It was still good, but it's not that these series are bad, it's just, it's made in a way which is just a sort of mediocre medium, like a TV show basically. And that's why I always think Star Wars deserves something grand and humongous and epic, and I don't feel like, especially the Book of Boba Fett, that his character was utilized and shown in a way that fans expected or showed the appropriate growth through it. So that was that sort of lukewarm show. Obi-Wan Kenobi went in a completely different direction. Like, obviously, seeing Obi-Wan on the screen is beautiful, but done in the right way, I don't think so. And I haven't rewatched it. I just haven't had the urge. Never. After we watched it together, I've never watched it again, which I would have thought something of that magnitude I would have done if it was a movie and it was made to a movie scale and the production was just, you know, epic, like done in that sort of process, and it came out on Blu-ray and what have you. I probably would have got it and rewatched it. But there's just something about TV shows. It's like they stretch it out, don't put enough stuff in there, and you haven't got time basically to go through the whole shebang again. And then Andor, I started off with not the greatest of feelings, but as it progressed, I gave it a chance, and then it sort of turned me over, and then I just loved so many scenes in there. It's not how I would have done it. I don't like the sort of real-world elements coming into Star Wars. I like it to be completely separate, but there were so many good things in there which made it epic. Especially, and I've rewatched multiple times the whole sort of prison escape thing and One Way Out. I thought that was just so beautiful and so emotional as well. So I'm hoping with AHSOKA, as it goes on to her show now, that we're going to have just sort of learn from all of those things. The Mandalorian Season 3 didn't hit right with me. It was good, but I mean, haven't rewatched it. It was just a bit lackluster, really. So I'm hoping that AHSOKA, with all the previous shows, doesn't really copy that formula of what the others have done. I hope it's sort of gone into its new path. And the previous trailers which I watched, I was getting it's sort of a gritty Jedi Outcasty vibe, like beyond the Empire. And there was just something about it. I don't know if that's the doings of Dave Filoni, But yeah, there's just something, and I don't know how to explain it, which kind of gets me quite excited. And it's all about atmosphere for me when it comes to Star Wars. The other TV shows didn't really have atmosphere. I think Andor really got close. Mandalorian was its own thing, and epic in its own right, so that had its own set category, shall we say. Book of Boba Fett, yeah, and then except the Mandalorian episodes, which were just perfect, like they were so good. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, I just thought really missed the mark and didn't quite get there. But my love for the characters and the actors kept me sort of enjoying it. I think there's something with Ahsoka which is going to be different and surprise us all. I really hope that anyway. One of the things I do in my spare time is try to keep updated with all things Star Wars, sort of behind the scenes and things. And I wouldn't say Disney Star Wars is in the best of places, or Lucasfilm, shall we say, best of places right now. And something with this trailer, I feel like it would have been holding back on what was being pushed out in the trailer, because that's just Dave Filoni's style, not to ruin anything. But I feel like they need something to bring the excitement in and the hype. So I don't know what's going to happen in this trailer. I don't think it's going to be anything huge. I mean, if they just went all out, but a flashback or something, then I wouldn't complain. That would get me hypes and things. But if that happened, then I would get bombarded with spoilers in all directions, and I couldn't miss it. So it's been, I think, last night when this came out, and I picked it up this morning, and I haven't seen anything for it since. So I don't think there's anything like that. So I'm really hoping great things from this show. I'm really looking forward to this trailer, and I literally have no idea what's coming for us at the moment. Hopefully big things. Already a perfect start
inevitable.
With a perfect ship.
One must destroy in order to create.
See, already epic.
We are no Jedi.
That's a very good start.
What happens when we find throne?
Power, such as you've never dreamed.
That looks
I've
so
spent most
good.
of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me. Who could help you with this?
Seeing
Still
Hero
just
in
as
live
stubborn
action,
as
still
ever.
can't believe it. It's,
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine. You never made things
oh, I feel like we're so close. For flashback.
easier to see this through.
So Sabine's a Jedi.
Nice haircut. Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings. Buckle up.
Overall, so nice. Seeing live
If
action.
we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain.
Yes, Lars.
You have
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
I'm getting a lot of chills right now, shivers. Okay, first up, the first thing I want to address really is Ray Stevenson. Balin Skull, I think he was playing. And it's just so sad because I feel like his character, he's going to have sort of an element of Count Dooku-ness about him, I feel. There's going to be something sort of sophisticated, and I know that I'm going to be drawn to that character. I know that I'm going to like his character, and he feels like a sort of dark Kyle Katarn to me. He came in on the Star Wars Celebration, he was really cool, it seemed like a really nice guy, and once you do a show like this, and if fans become attached to it, then it's sort of nice to see the actor reap the rewards of it, so to speak. But Ahsoka hasn't had it come out yet, so he never got the chance to sort of have that experience, and that's what makes me feel really sad. And to see his work sort of in this series, and then turn into something, and then lead on to the second series as well. Well, I assume they're still doing the second series, but I mean, hopefully he's sort of justified in this series, and they did everything they could to make him, as good as he could possibly be. That's just one of those sad things. Moving on with the other parts of the trailer, I had no idea that Sabine was going to be a Jedi. I know it was teased in the previous ones, but seeing her with the lightsaber, so now that makes perfect sense. In Rebels, where she picks up the Darksaber and she was dueling, or was it the Darksaber? Yeah. And she was dueling Kanan or practicing with him or Ezra. That's really good to see, and I think there's going to be a nice connection there with Ezra should he actually turn up. There's no reason why he shouldn't. If Thrawn made it back, then Ezra must have as well. I love the fact that this feels so much like Star Wars Rebels. There's some of the images on there when they're on Lothal and they're looking at the ship's flying through, and it's like Ezra's tower. Rebels got to such a point where I think some shots look so realistic that those shots there, that is the realistic version of it, but it looks so like it's just intertwined with it somehow. Visually, it looks really nice. And like I said, I'm a strong advocate for atmosphere. There's all the scenes that we saw in there, the locations, they look very atmospheric. It looks very Star Wars looking and interesting and imaginative, and that's something which I think is very strong for these series, is to be sort of transported into a place rather than just something that you can go to in your back garden or something like that. So from that point of view, it looks gritty. It looks like something is foreboding. Obviously, that's going to be Thrawn, it feels like it anyway. And to see Lars Mikkelsen there, that, you know, I've been so pissed if they didn't cast him as Thrawn, because his voice, in my eyes, is one of those top voices ever. It's sort of unmatched. And it's strange because it doesn't sort of fit his face. And then when we saw at Celebration him talk, and then I was looking, I was like, yeah, it does. It's like, and then I was a couple of times I just went, when he was talking, I was just closing my eyes. I was like, that's Thrawn. So that was a really sort of nice thing that he's playing Thrawn this, and the fact that they showed it now finally in this trailer, because they didn't show it in the previous sort of teaser trailers, is awesome. And I can't wait to see Thrawn in live action, calculating, and how he sort of takes over. He must take over from the Empire, turn it into something new. Like, one of my biggest only concerns with this, and this is pretty much always going to be the case, is that it doesn't lead on to the sequels. And the sequels, I respect if they exist. You know, it's a and I'm happy if people, they're like special people like the prequels are to me, and obviously the originals. But in terms of sort of the canonology of Star Wars and the timeline, how depressing things got in those, and yeah, I just don't want to begin. I'm hoping Ahsoka is the Star Wars timeline, and it can sort of, the sequels will be there, and Ahsoka will branch off to these amazing things and different branches into various aspects and explore a galaxy we haven't seen before and do something completely different. Now, is it the Veil of the Force, or, you know, the timeline thing where Palpatine's trying to get Ezra and Ahsoka? If they go into that is going to be what they must do, because they've got it in the logo, but that must have something to do. We're in speculation territory now, but there must be some reference to the originals. We might see something. One of my biggest things I'd like to see, which is just completely random, but seeing a Palpatine, young Palpatine with Anakin, you know, not as Darth Vader and Sidious, just Palpatine and Anakin. That would be just incredible. I'd love that so much, because I love the Emperor, I love Darth Sidious, but Palpatine is all of those things, and I just loved it. Even when Palpatine was in Rebels, you know, when he sort of projected himself to be Palpatine and not the Emperor, that was really nice, and I really like that. And I feel like those sort of twists could be included in this show, because it is basically Star Wars Rebels. There's one of the things which I know there's been a lot of chat about, that is an all-female centric thing as well. And one of those things where I'm always an advocate, a lot of advocate for various things, but one of the things, if it's not forced and it's natural and if it all works in accordance to the story, then it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't notice it, I don't see it. I mean, we've got Hera and we've got Sabine, and they're obviously integral to it because they're part of Ghost Crew. Ezra's missing, Kanan's dead. Be nice to have some sort of Kanan reference there, that'd be really nice. And then we've got Ahsoka. So those going on from Rebels, those were kind of the main characters there. The one thing that will draw attention to that and ruin it for me is then you start seeing things from media saying, oh, it's the first female led this or first that. It's just like, bore off with your rubbish nonsense. Like, I don't want it to be a thing where it's sort of pushed as a political thing. I wish Star Wars would come out the political spectrum. People who try to push for that notion just realise that it's not that. It's filmmaking. It's meant to be enjoyable. It's not meant to be a political thing. If you enjoy politics, go into politics. Don't go into the film industry. That's where I think the big mistake has been with a lot of things in these current modern ages, where you can't actually watch anything anymore and you're drawn back to the original things which you hold dear to your heart. But I think from that point of view, like, I'm really excited to see Hera in live action, Chopper of course, Sabine and Ahsoka. Seeing those three together, knowing all the stuff that they've gone through as well, like Ahsoka with Anakin, we've got Hera with Kanan, we've got Sabine with all the Mandalorian stuff, and Ezra comes into all of the equations there as well. It's going to be beautiful, I think. I think there's going to be this humongous weight on all the characters' shoulders, and I think that's going to come out really nicely in this show. I trust in a Dave Filoni creation, really, and I think he went about doing this as a follow-up season for Rebels, which I think is going to be really nice. I hope so anyway. I'll look back at this video at the end of the season after we've watched it all and see if I was right about these things. But yeah, there's so many things to talk about here. Like Harrison Dale is Obi-Wan Kenobi is Ewan McGregor's wife. I mean, how freaking awesome is that? I love that so much. They're both in Star Wars now.
Sith Lords are our speciality.
There's just small things like that which I'm going to love. Sabine's droid there looked like a BB unit as well, which is cool, but just minimise the sequel references for me. But yeah, it's not. I mean, the BB units were pretty cool, to be honest. But as long as there's, it's just the only thing that could let the show down for me would be heading in the direction of the sequels, because I will never quite get over the sort of heartbreak I feel for Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia. That act of the treatment of those characters and never seeing them together will never be forgiven in my book. That's sort of locked away, and that's the sequels that have been associated with that. So therefore, I would never rewatch them ever again. And anything to do with that, sort of makes me feel a bit sad, really. So I'm hoping there's going to be some brave new bold things in Ahsoka, which it's not sort of a rectifier or anything like that. It's just something new and refreshing, which I feel like has been needed for Star Wars Lucasfilm for a very long time. I feel like in TV shows, they should have called it a break on TV shows after Ahsoka. I don't think there needs to be any after this one. I think that would have kind of wrapped it up nicely as they make a transition back into film again. The Acolyte, which I've heard a lot about, I have no idea really what to expect. I have some, I know some things that are sort of behind the scene things, but in regards to the rest of the show, whether it's coming out and things, I've heard too many things about that, and I'm not quite sure what it's all about, and I hate it to be associated with a modern day creation. But yeah, going by this trailer, as you could probably tell, and the length of our discussion, it looks very exciting, and I can't wait to watch it all already. Next month is when it starts. It's going to be so cool. There must be an Anakin Skywalker flashback of some sort. Fingers crossed, because I'm 100% looking forward to that, and I will just go crazy again, all over again, if that's the case. That would be really nice, and I think there would be lots of things along those lines. I mean, even if we saw an episode 3 Obi-Wan Kenobi, it could happen in a flashback. I mean, who's stopping Natalie Portman from returning? Seeing that trio there as well will bring fan tears of joy to my heart. But anyway, tell me everything that you liked about this trailer and what you're looking forward to the most in this season, and maybe your whole point of view on the current progress for Star Wars as well. I'd like to see it all, and all your thoughts, just leave them down below. So I hope you enjoyed this trailer reaction. Like if you did, subscribe if you're not. Take care of yourself and remember, the Force will be with you always.